All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Story X the Show. Today, my distinguished guest is Tom Adam from Canberra Martial Arts and Fitness Centre in Canberra. Tom, how you going today, man?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Obviously, I'm in Melbourne, so we're closed. We're locked down. Our main businesses, the fitness centre and the martial arts gym, are all closed. We've got 8 p.m. curfew, mandatory masks, people flouting the rules, all the general things of lockdown. How did you find the lockdown when you were guys closed?
Yeah, look, it was for us, like as you said, we're in Canberra, so we're lucky we've had 3 weeks without a new case, and there's no wild virus, so we're doing quite well here. So we closed on the 23rd of March, I think it was for 12 weeks. We closed the initial 12 weeks. And look, it was a bit hit and miss. I got if we went through the life of the actual closure, it was, getting the technology. I was lucky I was sort of planning beforehand, but we sort of opted to get some technology, and then it wasn't strong enough for the workload that we were putting through it. We didn't realize 45 classes a week, how much strain that was going to put on the computers that we were using. So we had to upgrade equipment and changing systems and communicating with people to make sure they could get online. I felt like a bit of an IT support line for the first couple of weeks. The first 2-3 weeks until everybody settled in. And then we had the school holidays where we got a chance to really settle in and find our groove. I think the hardest part was adapting to teaching and training online. So teaching to the camera. Some of the martial arts lent themselves really well to it. The fitness programs that we run, Canberra Martial Arts and Fitness, so we've got both sides as well. Some of those programs lent themselves really, really well to it. The kids really adapted really, really well. Some programs, the adults it was really minimal attendance, but it was there. When we look back on the whole 12 weeks that we were open, and then I suppose there was another 3 weeks where we were hybrid, where we could only do sort of half the classes that we normally run. We were there serving people really as more of a mental fitness and a mental strengthening exercise, because for a lot of people, we were the only outdoor stuff they were doing. And we didn't have the harsh lockdown. We only had stage 3 here, where people could get out, but all the parks were closed, all the playgrounds were closed, even the dog parks were closed. And so you were walking along footpaths and people were sort of weird. So, for the 200 odd kids that we were training every week, we were their lifeline. And even my own 3 kids were getting into classes, and my daughter made a video of them setting up their classes, the 2x2 meters, and doing the classes and then packing up. And for them, it was great to see the instructors on TV, but they also enjoyed seeing me on TV and sort of teaching them through the medium as well. So look, I would say that definitely towards the end, the instructors started to really fatigue, and I really feel for you guys down there at the moment that are still having to go through it again, because I do know that the hardest part of it is not physically, everybody can do it, but it's that cortisol constant stress that you've got that's really starting to wear down your adrenal glands. And it's, for the guys down there, I would basically recommend that make sure you take time to do your own fitness. Even if you're getting in a video, somebody else teaching a program, and do that, because even though we've come back and we're live here, I'm still getting involved to fitness classes because I'm still dealing with the mental health that I've suffered through it. So make sure you take care of yourselves mentally. But definitely, we're really happy to be open again.
Yeah, brilliant. Look, I'm definitely feeling a bit of that fatigue, excuse me, the last 2 weeks.
I bet.
Having to be open for 2.5 weeks and then having to reshut again, and then kind of having a few weeks of stage 3 and then realizing that, this is not good. So now we're in stage 4 until middle of September. And then from then we'll see what happens. But we're projecting November reopen, late October reopen. We've still got a while to go. Tell me about your business history, because this is not the first business you've run.
No, so this is technically my second business that I've owned. Well, I technically don't own this. If you're a good business owner, you've got a company, a family trust structure that owns the company.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. This is the third business that I've run. So if you go backwards, I suppose I started Canberra Martial Arts and Fitness back in 2011 as a thing on the side that I will have 10 members at the end of the first year, and I had 50 in a lease, and went a bit off. Before that, I actually had an online retail furniture store. So that was back in 2007 that I launched that. And I had that. I actually sold the domain for that for $3,500 when I started the martial arts business, because I needed the money for the mats.
Yeah.
I didn't sell any client lists or supply lists or anything. Literally just sold the URL.
Wow.
And for the 5 years before I started Canberra Martial Arts, I was actually running a interior design and renovation business on the Gold Coast.
Oh, okay.
And
There you
yeah,
go.
so I was doing Maison Jardin is the name of the company, which means garden house, but it's an interior design company, family-owned business. But I came in, let's say I joined the business just at the time when things were starting to change on the Gold Coast. So the director of the business, my mum, is the former president of the Society of Interior Designers, and she had recently stopped doing the RSL Art Union homes, which you might know. You buy the tickets and you win a house.
Yeah. Yep.
My parents built all of those, a house every 5 weeks for 20 years.
Wow.
And 2004, I believe that was when the contract wrapped up. And I came back in 2005 and basically came in, and with my business acumen, I worked in recruitment and sales and other things before then. I really sort of started to streamline the business. Then the GFC hit. And one of the things that I really learned from the GFC is how to completely change your business model to make sure that you continue with revenue. So before the GFC, we'd been very much a couple of houses at a time for people doing fit outs, furniture, curtains, cushions, the whole lot. During the GFC, that just dried up. And so what I did was look at the market, look at the types of people that were going to have the ability to spend, and started approaching apartment building owners, service apartment buildings owners, found out the owners that were typically close to retirement or retirement age, apartments that hadn't been renovated for 15 to 20 years. And I went in there and I did free quotes where I actually did hand-drawn designs of what their apartment could look like and gave them quotes. And we ended up running about 5 renovations at a time, and that got us through the GFC. And
wow.
The only reason that we moved to Canberra is my wife got a job down here, and I'd just gotten my 4th degree black belt the year before. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'll just start a club, start a martial arts club. The guy that taught me never had more than 30 members. We're over 300 members now, even after COVID.
Yeah. What do you see as the similarities maybe between now and running? I know it's a different business that you ran during the GFC, but what are the similarities between what's going on now, the economic impact, and what happened in 2008 and 9?
Oh, look, absolutely. I think I was talking to someone about this a couple of weeks ago. There is a massive correlation between the two. And look, and I'm still learning my lesson. I've just recently finished my executive MBA through RMIT.
Congratulations.
And I still haven't, thanks to it, I still haven't learned the lessons of the past. And one thing was to make sure that you always have a secondary or tertiary revenue source. And so the correlation that we had was, for me, it was, in the GFC, we were doing one type of work, and then we switched to another type of work, but it was in the same industry. And as you and I were talking about this months ago, you and I were talking about this in February. I know that you were well organized, and so was I. We saw this pandemic approaching, and I decided that the only way that we were going to get through it was to make sure that we could have a continuity of service through that period. And for me, it was a no-brainer. How do I make sure, let's be frank, how do I make sure that my customers keep paying me money through that period? And putting aside the government rebates and the JobKeeper and all that stuff that's coming through. And look, that's my only income, but it's afforded me the opportunity to keep all 18 of my staff employed through the whole crisis, and continue to deliver all of the classes. And so what's happened now is I've still got members that have continued paying full price through the whole thing. And now when we come back, they're uber engaged. And what it means is the new members coming on board they're seeing these people engaged and going, wow, we can come 2 or 3 times a week. Yeah, bring it on. So the link between the two was really, for me, it was a no-brainer. It was, what is going to dry up, and what can we deliver? What services and products can we provide? They're going to keep us going through. And so, we had the classes, and I continued to offer private lessons, and we ordered hundreds and hundreds of mats. I felt like a Korean drug dealer feeding them through the door at members. They come over, they get their 4 mats through the door. But it was really, it was an act of survival, but in the same breath, you've got to say, I wasn't thinking about the money. To be honest, I was thinking, yeah, cool, I need people to keep paying me to cover the overheads. But I was really thinking about, how do I keep my kids busy? How do I keep all of our members engaged so that when we reopen again, that they all come back? Because that's the thing. We want to be reopen again. And I'm hoping it's earlier than November for you guys. I really do hope it's sooner than that. But when you're there, having that membership of engaged people, we'll talk about in a second, it really does open up the energy of the club. And that's one thing that we've noticed now that everybody's coming back is the energy in there is, you can taste it.
Yeah.
You can taste it in the club, apart from the bleach.
Yeah, the constant smell of hand sanitizer. We got some from Bunnings, and we got 2 or 3 liters of it to kind of back up ourselves when we reopened. We kind of got the dispenser installed and that kind of stuff. I mean, I should have smelled it first. It was terrible. It was.
I'll hook you up with a good supplier.
Yeah,
I've actually had people use ours. We've gone through 10 liters in the last 8 weeks.
Yep.
And people use ours and they go, "Oh, this smells great." I'm like, "Yeah, the last one we had was low tide scent." So
ours is really bad. Yeah, I think I'll bin the remaining 2 liters and happy to get some other ones for sure.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So you mentioned before you came down to Canberra, obviously the podcast with about the fitness and martial arts industry.
Yep.
Your Taekwondo background. So your 4th degree black belt you got before you came to Canberra. What was your kind of martial arts history there?
Yeah, so I'm currently a 6th degree black belt in Hapkido. I started, so look, a bit of a personal story. So I started judo when I was 9 at the PCYC on the Gold Coast. I'm a Gold Coast boy, grew up there. And we used to go down there and we had our $5 gi. And I'm not joking, it was $5. Like it was, and they were great gis. We look back, I'm thinking, geez, it was cheap. And we go there on a Saturday morning, we'd have a little $2 gold coin. Because the gold coins had only just come out for the centenary. And we go along, we pay our $2 and we go and do a judo class. And this instructor, who was a 2nd degree black belt, this young guy, he was amazing. And then one Saturday, he just disappeared. He just,
okay.
He just gone. Like, so I think I had my yellow belt. I was like, I'm loving this. And at the end of the class, the trick was to try and everybody had to try and drag the instructor down. We're all, 9, 10. And he would just destroy us. It was great.
Yeah.
And so I stopped for a while. And then my father actually passed away when I was 13. And so that was the year, Christmas time, 1992. And I changed schools that year as well. It just happened to the stars align. It was a horrible year. And I got about halfway through year 8 because that was high school back then. And I remember getting in trouble and they dragged me in front of the school reverend and he was unpacking, why are you angry? What are you going on? And it got to the crux of it. And one of the things that my dad and I had always done was watch Hong Kong martial arts films. So he was a flight attendant for Qantas back and forth. And he would bring back these bootleg videos of, Jackie Chan and Jet Li and Bruce Lee and all these guys from Hong Kong, all these other names I can't even remember. And they said, we should get back into martial arts. So I did Taekwondo for the better part of 3.5 years up through high school and stopped that towards the end. Year 12, it got a really bit hectic because I was busy and, life and stuff. But then in 2003, I had a really personal attack. So I was out late one night with my now wife. We've been together 20 years this year. And we were out drinking and I broke some of the personal rules that when I teach self-defense courses, I always talk about. So I broke rule number 1, which is don't be there. And that stuff goes into, like, I was at somebody's house that I didn't know. I didn't know how I was going to get home. I didn't know most of the people that were there. I was too far into it. And the long and the short is one guy got a little bit too lippy. We were trying to get out of there. And just as we were about to leave, his mate pushed him out of the way. The guy that was harassing us out of the way, reached out his hand and said, no hard feelings. I took his hand and he headbutted me in the face. And he cracked my right cheekbone, 2.5 centimeters across, 2.5 mil deep. And I didn't know that it was that bad because I played rugby, you'd be kicked in the face, played Taekwondo, been kicked and punched. Yeah, no problem at all. The next night I blew my nose and my face looked like a balloon.
Yep.
Which was kind of frightening for my wife.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So I did a bit of soul searching and that we were living in Sydney at the time. We'd visited Canberra for this. And then I moved back to the Gold Coast to help my mum run her business. And I decided, obviously, over the 18 months preceding that I wanted to get back into martial arts. And I didn't want to go back to Taekwondo because the guy was holding my hand. So, the guy, the Taekwondo that I'd done by Rui, I think it was by Rui, under Master Birch. He's passed away since. I didn't want to go back to that. I didn't want to do judo because, I don't know, I just didn't feel like it was something that I wanted to get into. And I went around to a few clubs, and I remember smelling a few clubs and not going in.
Yeah, it happens.
And then I went into this club, Hapkido. I was like, what is Hapkido, And I went into the club, and this big, gigantic guy took me by he went to shake my hand, and I sort of didn't let him have my hand.
Of course, very similar situation.
He just stood next to me, put his hand around me, and I said, I'd like to watch a class. And he laughed and said, no one watches here. And I went from 0 classes a week to 8 hours of classes and 2 hours of private lessons a week.
Wow.
And and I progressed really, really quickly. I'll be the first to admit that I was putting in more hours than most would. And I think in the first 5 years of training, I did something like, somebody worked it out for me. It was in excess of about 700 hours a year.
Sure.
So for a lot of people out there that are watching this or listening to this podcast, I don't think many of your students would put in more than 100 hours a year into their training.
Yeah.
And so progressed really quickly. And then, not a short time, I was going through the ranks and traveling, and then got the 4th Dan, and we went, we'll start a club. And that's how we ended up there. I hope that answered your question the long way around.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting to hear, because it's not an uncommon story to have a situation like that. Maybe, all those stories are typically quite unique.
Yeah.
About martial artists and why they got back into it. It was the bullying, or it was an incident like that, and you had already had some background. So I can imagine that would have been quite shocking. Like, geez, I thought I kind of had a bearing of myself, and I still got headbutted,
Yeah. Well, it's the intimate gesture. Like if somebody goes to shake your hand, it's like, it's the act of peace. It's to show I've got no knife in my hand. It's that sort of thing. And to be assaulted like that. Yeah.
It's that old, you're about to have a match, and you go to put your hand up to touch gloves with the guy, and then they just hit you.
Yeah.
Touching gloves. It's like, why did you do that? And you're like, you got hit. It's a fight, but it's kind of like an unspoken rule. You don't handshake someone, then hit them.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but I guess it speaks more to that guy's character than it does to the quality of the martial art.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about the martial arts history. Your lockdown experience you touched on before, but I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into it.
Sure.
You've hit the ground running coming back now. So full disclosure, Tom and I are in another business group together, a few actually now, I think. So Tom and I are in some business groups together, and how long have I known you now, Tom? Probably 2 years?
Yeah, I think it's been about 2 years.
About 2 years, yeah. So kind of seen and watched everyone's growth, and yours has been quite fast, and especially it was quite fast recovery. So just without going into too many specifics, at the start of the lockdown, how hard did you get hit? And now you've come back, how much have you slingshotted?
So I'm happy. I'm happy to go into details. I'm an open book. Was it, also it's easy. Like Mark Twain said, if you don't tell a lie, you never have to remember anything ever again in your life. Was it, no, so when it happened, we started giving people options, like everybody did. And looking back, I regret some of the options that I gave some people, because some people have just abused it. Mm-hmm. But we essentially took about a 35% hit in numbers and a 50% hit in revenue straight away.
Yep.
And
within the first week or so, hey.
Oh, dude, yeah, 5 days. It was, and so part of our revenue. So 2/3 of our revenue is generally made up of recurring revenue, and the other third on a monthly will be people buying packages, upselling, grading fees, because we've got 5 martial arts and 3 fitness programs. So we've got a diverse, clientele, and I mean that literally, diverse clientele. You should meet some of the people we've got, and so we lost a lot of people. And look, the statistics that now that we've reopened, we see that the majority of the people we lost were actually people under the age of 7. So
I experienced a very similar thing.
Yeah. And which ironically are the people who are paying my wages, it seems. So we had this massive drop, and then we managed to coast through, and we actually managed to get a lot of people on board. I probably took so we dropped down from 370 down to, the dust settled at about 280. Mm-hmm. It actually went down to 250, and then I actually managed to get 30 people on board. And there were a lot of people who had wanted to train with us but lived too far away. Now, for people watching this from Melbourne or Sydney, in Canberra, 20 minutes is a long way, okay?
I've spent a fair bit of time in Canberra. I understand what you mean.
Oh, it's rubbish. It's a bullshit.
Yeah.
People go, oh, it's so far. I'm like, I lived in Bankstown and drove to the city every day. It was an hour and 10 minutes. Get over it.
Yeah.
So, we had a lot of people come on board, and they've obviously dropped off since we've come back. But we are now, I've got 35 kids currently in their trial, and we're at 303 members.
That's very impressive.
Yeah.
To go back, you've almost gained 10, 12% of it back in the first, 8 weeks of being open again.
Yeah, so it's basically been, we had two surges. So we went, if you looked at it like this, so the reopening process, we had 3 weeks where we had a maximum 20 people inside plus staff. So we were running in hybrid. So during that period, we didn't really gain many students back. So I was upselling fitness programs and challenges and trying to get people on board. I probably got about 10 people. Not many of them have continued through from that hybrid period. Once we reopened our doors, which was about 5 weeks ago, fully to the full program, we gained probably about 25 before the end of the school term. And then we've gained another sort of 50 or so since then. So if all the kids that would have come through now, and literally I only have had 2 out of about 50 that have said they won't continue, we're looking at about 330 members that we'll have in the next couple of weeks as the number. The revenue, we're back. We literally last month actually hit our expense target. So we covered our costs. And this month I've got to find another, I think it's about 5K. So it's that the bounce back that we've had has been directly linked to the classes that dropped off beforehand.
Right.
So the numbers that we've gained back have been kids. So I did a $300 ad campaign for kids, and I made $2,000 in trial revenue from that ad alone.
Brilliant. That's really interesting because in the fitness industry, in my area, well, we're locked down again, but even if we were to open, you might be able to speak on this as well. The JobKeeper zombie businesses have crept up around here. We've got a lot of people opening full-time facilities because they got that cash grant bonus, and I don't think they're ready or prepared for being closed again for 3 more months. So when the cash dries up, or when JobKeeper turns off as it's starting to be phased out, what are your thoughts on that? Because I know you've done a bit of press recently about JobKeeper. What happens to those businesses moving forward?
So look, if you look at it from an economic standpoint, so from the macro side, and then you've got the micro side. So if you look at it, let's look at it from state by state. So we'll look at Victoria. There's 50% of the private industry workers in Victoria are on JobKeeper at the moment, something like that. 50%. So 50% approximately. Like if you look at it as a raw figure, it's very hard to dive deep into it because the tax office are very coy on it, and obviously it's privacy. But let's say that number's skewed a little bit. Let's say there's 30% of those people are on JobKeeper. Like myself, I've basically taken pretty much a half pay cut to be on it. Look, I'm lucky. My wife's got a good paying job that let her work from home and take care of the kids and let me focus on the business. So what's going to happen at the end of it? For me, I know to still be with the current setting, because I know the treasurer made comments. Sorry, the finance minister made comments about it changing today, just recently early today in a press statement to help Victoria. But for me to be compliant with the JobKeeper at the end of September, I need to have a 30% reduction in the revenue from July to September. If I have a 30% reduction in revenue from July to September, I won't be able to afford my expenses in October, because what happens in October is my rent goes back up, my mortgage at home kicks back in, all those other expenses that you negotiated, like pushing off printer costs and the car loan and all the other things, and your own wages. So you have to pay yourself more and your costs go up through the roof.
Yep.
So I don't know I know that I've done my financial forecast until the end of November, and I know that I just have to generate an additional $500 a week in new sales, and I'm okay.
Yeah.
How many of those people have actually sat down and not just looked at, okay, we've got JobKeeper coming in each month, and you've got 4 staff, so that's $12,000 a month. Okay, yada yada yada. How many have actually sat down and actually done a cash flow projection, pure ins and outs, like including the $43 a month on Adobe software and the $99 a month on so and so, the little tiny things that people forget about.
Yeah.
Who's actually done a cash flow projection over there and then actually gone, okay, the only way that we're going to be able to survive without JobKeeper, and you have to think that you're going to not have it.
Yeah.
It's how do we survive without JobKeeper to make money now? And I feel that a lot of them won't. And then suddenly in October, the bills will go up through the roof. And I foresee that a lot of the businesses that haven't been foreclosing and going liquidation administration, which the statistics are proving from APRA, the number of businesses that normally go bust at this time of year has been halved. So hang on a minute, we're in the middle of a massive economic crisis and a pandemic, and half the number of businesses are going out of business because JobKeeper are going up. So I project that there will be a lot of businesses in October and November that go out of business. Now, you're lucky in your state. You've got a couple of different grants from the government.
Yes.
Yeah, in my state, we've gotten precisely none.
Yeah. We got, and I think we got 10,000 at the start in March.
Another 5, yeah.
And the last one now is only if you're employing, but I don't employ anymore. So I didn't get the next one.
Oh, okay. There
you
go.
Yeah. Well, I didn't employ anymore because otherwise I couldn't have afforded it unless I had JobKeeper. So in April, I again have done an MBA. In April, I did my cash flow projection and thought I can keep everyone on if I go out of business in November.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to make the decision a bit earlier, and they've been able to find things elsewhere.
And for me, it was a no-brainer in terms of continuing, because purely this like you, it's a sole thing. But I knew that I have the backing and support of my wife, and I have that sort of that income. But how many other people have done it? And that's my biggest concern. And that was what I said to SBS and I said to Channel 9, and they both edited out a whole lot of stuff, which was really disappointing. And they just sort of put on the negative stuff, which they always do. But realistically, there are support mechanisms out there for business. So in the ACT, there's a business support network where you can actually get 4 hours with somebody to sit down and actually do a business plan with you. It's for free. I'm not sure what's available in Victoria, but I'm pretty sure that there would be something that people can tap into that will actually help them. I've got a spreadsheet, and I could show you what it is, but it's literally bank account, income, expenses, and it does the numbers for me. And I put in how much I think I'm going to make, and then I update it as I go, and it adjusts and things like that. I don't think many people are actually doing that, doing the profit and loss and doing the numbers to really think about it. And it would be interesting. Now, that's linking back to what you asked about the recovery. What you then need to do is think about the types of clients that you want to be tapping into that go back, because if a portion of those people don't go back to work, so let's say 30% of the businesses that are currently on JobKeeper, let's be horrible, let's be scary. 30% of the businesses that are on JobKeeper in Victoria never open again.
Yep.
So was it 500,000 people out of work?
Yep.
So you're looking at a demographic of people that are going to be going on to lower income. I doubt many of your customers now are on JobKeeper.
Yeah, no, almost none of them. Yeah, so we had a very similar hit, about a 30% hit on the martial arts.
Yeah.
We're able to, again, pivot, that key word of the year, pivot online very quickly.
Adapt. Don't say pivot. It's adaptation. Pivoting implies that you understood what was happening and you knew it was going to happen. Adaptation is when you evolve to make changes.
That's right. We adapted very quickly. My apologies for using, I love the word pivot. It was everywhere, wasn't it? How good is it? Adapt. I said that on purpose. We adapted. We did online straight away. You know, it numbed the hit, but it was still a bit of a hit. And now, even in this period now, we're starting to grow again our online presence. Yeah. And we've actually signing up new clients closed, but it's a different kind of client. And you're right. And, you know, the people that we have left, it's like that 70% of the business that was left and now kind of growing and starting to grow again. Yeah. The people that are left are working. You know, they're either essential workers with a couple of nurses and stuff, so they're still being paid, and they're probably doing even more shifts than before. Yeah. And we've got, you know, some government employees, teachers, et cetera, who are all still okay. But we also had plenty of hospitality workers who were just like, sorry guys, we got to go. Yeah. And I think a lot of those small and micro businesses, like your boot camp outsides, your small cafes, family-owned businesses, will be tough to hit, I think, afterwards.
I actually think the outdoor boot camps are going to do really well because of the psychology of the messaging that keeps coming out of particularly the Victorian Health Minister, the Chief Health Officer, is that outdoor exercise is a lower risk activity, and they also have a lower overhead structure. I think that for me, what I've done is I have basically drawn a line in the sand for the majority of my members in terms of the online membership. So we said to them, okay, you can continue until the end of July, even though we've been open since June, with the discounted memberships. However, I did put a little tiny comment in there saying that if you believe that this will be difficult past then to contact me. So I do have a handful of members that are on digital plans, but they are hospitality workers. They are people that I actually know that are genuinely in the poop. But I've actually put my prices up. Since I've come back, and people are more engaged. The people that are coming now are doing more classes. The ones that I'd rather have one person at $50 a week than two at 25, because the kind of people who are coming in at 25 are the ones who go, I only do one class a week. I don't want customers that want to train one class a week. I want customers that are there 3 to 4 times a week, 3 to 4 days a week, doing these things. So that leading into that is you've got to look at the type of that you've got to look at your avatars again. I would suggest that you review your avatars and have a look at the types of people that you're going to be targeting. Look at the areas that are going to make money, kids in particular. Lean into that, like really lean into it. I've done some promotional offers at a lower price point that I would normally in terms of so normal price if they do one class a week, but doubling the number of classes they do at a cheaper rate. To add that engagement so that the people that are attending fills up the classes. The classes look full. When more people come, they see the classes looking full and they're genuinely excited to be there. No one wants to walk into a class with 3 people. So we looked at that and went, okay, how do we fill up the kids' classes straight away? So I've added $5,500 a month in recurring revenue in the last 6 weeks.
Brilliant.
So how do I do that? How do we make sure that I'm not fighting for the basics? So I know that my basic costs are here and my additional costs are here, variables, things like that. I know what my dollar figure each month is to make sure, as of October, I know I have to be hitting $35,000 a month in revenue to be covering all of my cost, wages, the whole lot.
And I think that's a really important thing, because especially if you're including in your revenue projections, even if you are doing the projections, but if you're including JobKeeper in that, and geez, I've taken my super out, look how much money I've got. It's not going to be there in October when you really need it. No. When those things dry up.
That's right. That's right. And even if it is, I would suggest that. So what I do at the end of each month when I get it back, I've actually been using the money that I'm getting back for JobKeeper, which is paying me back for me paying my wages. And look, admittedly, I've got 2 people that I'm overpaying at the moment, and their performance is directly proportionate to their lack of effort. But I know that they'll come around and I'm working on them. But that additional money, I've actually used that to repaint my club, new signage, new carpet. I've taken an advisor on board that owns 80 gyms in Sydney, and he's multiple owners of businesses, things like that, to give me the advice, to come in and get someone in to look around your gym and tell you all the shit that you don't fix. Why have you got that there? I don't know, because it's always been there. Well, it's ugly. Get rid of it. What are the things that you need to change? So we rebranded. So we did a new logo. We've got all new t-shirts coming in. I'm buying masks for all of my customers. So the new reality might be that masks might be mandatory going forward after you reopen, until there's no silver bullet with this coronavirus. There will not be one vaccine that is everybody gets a jab and we're done. It'll be years before we get to the point where it isn't having multiple jabs multiple times a year, and other things that are going on from there. You got to face the new realities, adapting to the new reality. Have masks for everybody as mandatory, then have them branded. Why wouldn't you have your brand across people's face?
Of course.
Do all those things that you need to do. But most importantly, have it so that when people walk into my club that haven't been back for a while, they walk in and it is bright, it is fresh, it smells like bleach constantly, and hand sanitizer. But do something wild so that it show the love and really get out there and make sure that people feel like they are part of the community when they come back.
It's really giving that extra value, isn't it? It's over delivering on what you're charging. And I know it's a bit easier to say, like you said, 30, 35K a month in revenue. Talk to me about the lower end businesses, those 5 to 10K. What kind of things would you recommend they do to give that extra value? Maybe they can't buy 100 masks for their customers, but what else could they do?
So what we did to add value for so I've got a program of, like, they're called the Hapkido Tigers. So they're 7 to 14 years, and that program I think I lost 1 member through the whole crisis. Now a lot of these kids have been training with me for up to 9 years. So my daughter's one of them. She's 12. She's in the junior leadership program. So that junior leadership program I'll touch on. So there's 2 things that we did. One, we adjusted our timetable to give them more time on the mats. So before we had 2 45-minute sessions, 7 to 9s, and then the 10 to 14s. What we did is we smashed them all together, and then we made additional technique time. So what they do, they get now, rather than coming in and doing 45-minute session, we try to get through everything. They come in and they do a 45-minute session on skills and drills. So patterns and kicking and rolling. And then we have 2 20-minute sessions where the senior kids help out with the junior ranks. So the higher ranks help with the junior ranks, working on their techniques. So with Hapkido, we've got, joint locks, takedowns, flips, things like that. Then the senior belts get 20 minutes without all the other younger kids on the mats, where they get dedicated time where I take them through the advanced stuff. So I don't come in for the skills and drills. I walk on the mats for the technique session. So they've got a 6th degree master of Hapkido teaching them the detail. So the kids are there from 10 past 5 until 10 to 6, the senior belts, and they get a solid hour and 40 minutes of training. That change, all I needed to do was move one class forward 10 minutes and then make that time. So now we've got each class, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I have 26 kids that are uber engaged that come in on those slots 3 times a week, and they get that additional value for only an extra 10 minutes of my time.
Right.
So rejigging the timetable to make it like that. We've moved some classes to times that are more suitable. Classes that were laggers. So if you're getting 3 or 4 people in a class, move it to another time. Don't ask the current members what time would suit them, because they'll tell you that the time that's currently on. So we've moved some classes. So we've freed up some mat space. We've got 2 training areas either side of the club. We've freed up some mat space on one time. So now our sword instructor can come in early, and with our the belt colors are relevant, but almost, the almost black belt and black belts get a half an hour training session just for them. And then when they go into the sword class, they're invested into the class. So now our sword classes are getting 20 to 24 people per class, which is frightening. 24 pieces of steel floating around.
Yeah. So you've added a lot of extra kind of programming. The schedule's a bit more flexible, a bit more accommodating, and that's how you've added the extra value without necessarily spending extra dollars.
That's right. So look, my Hapkido class on Saturday, I finish at 12 o'clock, and then all the black belts walk to the other side of the club where there's no class, and we spend 30 minutes with another martial arts style working on sparring.
Yep.
And then it's just adding that value back to the members. And if you're already doing that now, that's great. Now ask the black belts that are training with you what they would like to see happening in the classes that is more fun. Add more fun back into the classes. If you're not doing fun because you're tired, hey, I get it. I remember I was on screen. I was sick to death of it. I was tired. I was like mental health, because normally you get to talk crap with people for the 10 minutes after class. And then now it's like, hey guys, bye, end, silence. That's depressing.
Yep.
At the end of the class. So leave the screen on. Keep talking to people at the end. If the last class of the night, leave it on. Keep chatting with people. Hey guys, anybody want to stay for a chat? Or, hey, I'm going to do beers. I'm going to be home in 20 minutes. I'm going to do beers. Anybody want to join me? And even if it's 2 people, put it out into the Facebook group, get it out there. Do something for your own mental health. They will love it. My members loved our digital beers. So we did it on a Sunday afternoon. We'd sit on the deck in the sun and we'd have digital beers and just have a yarn. Do something that isn't class related. Do something for them.
Yeah.
Just anything to keep that engagement.
Yeah, we've added a running club on Strava, so the running app. So it's just about the parents jump. It's free, completely free. Doesn't cost anything. Doesn't cost anything to start a running club on Strava as well. I don't even plan workouts for it. We're literally just all going for runs at different times. Oh, geez, Vincent had the most kilometers this week, or this week it's Marie had the most kilometers, and it's just another avenue, especially because they're spending so much time on their phone already. Another avenue, a bit of engagement, a bit of chit chat. Another thing we've done is the virtual picnics, kind of everyone having lunch together, kind of thing. That's been a really good one. Low cost, obviously, it costs nothing. It's just Zoom. I mean, what's Zoom? $25 a month, something like that.
Yeah, I've got 3 accounts. So.
Yeah, yeah. I kept logging into my user one actually instead of my paid one. So I tried to start a meeting and I realized none of my kids were there because I was in the wrong meeting.
Oh no!
That was early on.
We've done that where you've got the same class on different accounts. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, geez, no one's turned up today. It's weird. And then I get an email. Your attendees are waiting. Yeah. All right. So before we finish up, Tom.
Yeah.
What are the 2 things you think are most important for fitness and martial arts businesses at the start of 2021?
The start of 2021. I would say, first of all, brand recognition is going to be really important when we come out of this. There's going to be a lot of people throwing money at, there's going to be a whole lot of new businesses. There's going to be people throwing money at it.
Mm-hmm.
Get your branding consistent. Get your website up to date. And get someone to come and have a look at it and say, this is what, this is the market that you're going to go out to. The second, I would say, don't be afraid to take risks. Don't be afraid to start a new class, but keep it and see what happens. Don't obviously do anything that's going to don't do something you're going to throw away 10 grand on something over a 12-month period. But the success that I've had over the last 4 years, particularly the last 4 years, I've gone from 140 members to 300 plus and, twice the size and double the classes. And I went from 14 classes a week to 45 in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And the success that I've had is don't be brave, take the risk, do something new, get an instructor in, go and approach a school. If you've got a full-time facility, go and approach another martial art who teaches out of a PCYC or whatever they call down in Victoria and get them to merge their business with yours.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the business and say, look, I know you probably make about this much money a month, right? Okay, I will pay you more than that in wages if you teach the program and everybody comes my member. I'll take care of the insurance, uniforms, yada, yada, yada. You just have to teach what you love and keep that membership, but then give them the bonus if they're consistently having more than, say, 20 people a class.
Yeah.
So get them to buy into that. And then, so that's what I didn't approach them. I was lucky. I've had 3 other martial arts schools approach me and merge their businesses with mine over the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Just do it.
I really like that idea because I think, especially now, there's probably a big opportunity for the 2 major fitness industry businesses, the general fitness industry, kind of your gym and boutique industry, and the martial arts industry to really team up because they would have taken big hits just like us. They're closed just like us in the martial arts business.
Yeah.
We've used our grant money and stuff to build up the gym and start pushing that program more. I think there's plenty of scope to approach a local boutique gym and say, hey, pack up your lease. Let's do it. Let's go together.
Look, and don't fall for the mistake of trying to move into their business. The martial arts business will never merge with the fitness business, but a fitness business definitely merge the other way because you're offering an add-on product. Mm-hmm. Whereas fitness people just if they want to go to the gym, there's people who want to pay $20 a week and go to the Globo gym and play dodgeball or whatever they want to do. Don't worry about them. And that was one of the mistakes a colleague I had. He moved his martial arts business into a Globo gym. And then the owner started playing funny buggers. He was going to share all the membership of the people who were doing the martial arts, and his income went from $1,000 a month down to about $300 a month.
Jeez, yeah.
And now I pay consistently $60 an hour before tax, all that's the stuff. And he just comes and he rocks up and he does 3 amazing classes a week. But the other thing is that you've got to throw advertising at their products. So this guy he brought across 8 members. He now has 20 to 25 members a class coming. Yeah. So back it up. It's one of those things. I think we can be depressed. Please accept the fact that you're going to be depressed when you're in this situation. It is shit. It is horrible. The mental stigma, everything that's going wrong. Yes, you're going to have cortisol issues. You're going to wake up worrying about something. You have no idea what you're worrying about. That is what's going to happen. But for the love of God, stay an optimist. Stay optimistic because the members will feed off that energy. If you come back and you think that you're not going to survive, the members will see that. And my own members said it to me the other day. One of the guys said to me, he said, Tom, I can tell that you're sad, but you're such a bloody optimist because you're always going, we'll get through this. Yeah, no worries at all. And he said to me, why are you such an optimist? And I laughed and I said, because I bloody will have to be. And because that's the only way that you can survive. But remember this old adage, money never comes when you want it. It comes when you need it. So what does that mean? It means that you have to take action because if you need it, you need to make it.
Brilliant. Well, I think that is a perfect way to end off the podcast. Tom, very informative. Geez, we probably could have gone over that merger thing for another 2 hours. But I might have to have you on again in a couple of weeks after.
Definitely, we can happily talk about it. Let's do that. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Tom, Adam, guys, check out Canberra Martial Arts if you're in Canberra. Check out Tom's media stuff. He's always in the news somewhere. Tom, thank you so much for being a guest. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much, Adam, and really look forward to seeing this online.
Awesome. Thanks, mate.
See ya.